All right, we're back. In the last video, we talked about requirements, right? We talked about course requirements, a syllabus. By the way, this syllabus I'm going to put online by the end of the week. By Friday, you'll have it up online. I'll also put the course outline up there, and any PowerPoints we're going to use today, they're going to be put up. I'm going to try and get the assignments done and put up so you have them in advance, so that way you guys can start working on them early and decide almost like a list of stuff you can choose. I can probably take some of that information today. Like, for example, if I was going to say for my, say, what are the topics, right? That I want you guys to teach. Well, one of them is obviously going to be security, right? So like a security overview. So Stephen's always already chosen that. He talked to me ahead of class. Actually, it was really his. I have to give him credit. It was his idea to kind of come up with in his initiative. He went to a conference. Is that what you went to?
It was a workshop.
A workshop for security, and he kind of pulled that together. And he wants to kind of. It was his initiative to pull it together. I'm going to have. I'm not sure if I think I've talked to Aaron about cloud computing. So Aaron's going to come up with one class about cloud, Azure. Cloud computing is going to be Aaron so far. I've talked to a couple people. Jean-Luc, I think you're going to be handling, is it Web API, right? So an overview. I've got Kevin, and you're going to be handling Embassy Model. So maybe, again, next week or the week after, we can hit Model View Controller, a little bit of an overview again, right? I've got some other pieces as well that I need to handle. Like, for example, I need something to do with someone to do with hacking. Like not just security, you got the hacking stuff, and something with countermeasures, so hacking and look. So because I know you're a router guy, right? Yeah. So something to do with hacking countermeasures, but on the application side, the software side. So send me an email with that, right? And that'll be yours for assignment, one of the two assignments, right? Anyone else have any other ideas, things that they want to explore in this course? We can include in the curriculum, right? So I'm gonna kind of post another list of other things that I've got I'm gonna pull up. Anyone else? So think about web application security. There's also things like with on the database side, database security. There's also other pieces of the ASP.NET MVC framework. Like for example, someone can do things on Bootstrap, right? Who wants to do Bootstrap with MVC5, right? So we're gonna talk about that. That'll be in the front end technologies, right? I'm going to put it up there. Matt, you want to do it? Yep.
You want to do it?
Someone I need someone to do front end. I know no one likes front end. You guys are all back end people, right? Back end developers. How about Natasha? Because Natasha's good with that front end stuff, isn't she? Huh? She wants to do what? She wants to do the assignment. Well, you know why? That's what the assignments are there for. That's why I made it optional, right? Because there's not a lot of topics, and some people are not good at presenting, or they don't feel like it, right? They don't like doing it, right? So if you don't like doing it, it's okay. I'm not going to force you. I can't force you to do something, but I'll put a list of topics up online coming up. I'll put a little notification of these are the other topics that are available, and you can sign up for them. And it's first come, first served, okay? Let's get back to requirements here. So again, one of the things you need to do is I highly recommend you use your laptop for this one. You can certainly use the computer in front of you, this Visual Studio machine here in front of you. The challenge is that it may not have Visual Studio 2013 with Update 4. And where you can get this, of course, is if you go to the DreamSpark area of Georgian, then you can certainly download Microsoft Visual Studio 2013 with Update 4, excuse me. And if you look through here, or Update 4 by itself, if you already have Visual Studio 2013 installed, you can certainly just download and install Update 4.
What's better, Ultimate, Professional,
Ultimate,
Premium?
Ultimate.
Okay.
Please get Ultimate with Update 4, right? So, because we need to be on the same page when we have our tools, right? When we set up our tools, that's the one thing. Number two, yes?
We're doing another class which uses Visual Studio. Will it clash if we use C++ and then we use...
No. No, if anything, it'll just add more stuff to it. There's things that you might be missing in your Visual Studio you have right now, and that's why I want to kind of bring you up to date with it, right?
Okay.
The other thing I want to try and do with you is I use Visual Studio Web Essentials, and I think it's a really cool thing to include. I'm going to be doing stuff with shortcuts, and some of these shortcuts won't work unless you have Visual Studio Web Essentials, right, installed. It's a free download. Update 4 does include some piece parts to it, but sometimes it might be important for you to choose the download as well. And the reason for this is because there's other piece parts it includes that Update 4 may not have right now. Web Essentials Visual Studio 2010, 2012, 2013, and so on. It supports all of them across 2015. If I choose download as an example, if you notice what it says, Web Essentials 2013 for update 4, right? So if you don't have update 4, you're SOL, right? Please get update 4. Or else you're not going to be on the same page as me. So that's the second tool. Okay, so you need a couple tools to download and install. So for next week, my expectation is that you'll be up to date with all this kind of stuff, please. You can certainly try and do it today. It's going to make it if everyone's downloading in this room, we're not going to have any movement on the internet whatsoever, right? So that's the first thing. The other thing is I use GitHub with everything, right? So if you don't have a GitHub account, who doesn't have a GitHub account? Or who doesn't use GitHub? I know we've kind of done this before. What if you haven't used GitHub in a long time or you forgot your account? Well, what I'm going to do is, for those people who don't have GitHub, I'm going to do a kind of a little GitHub refresher because we have to kind of got to do that a little bit. Part of it's going to be in command line. I know some of you guys know GitHub because you've been doing it with your project courses. All of you should actually know GitHub by now. Who doesn't know GitHub? But that, maybe you kind of don't know it, right? So I can do a refresher on that, no problem.
I don't know if I've been.
Oh, okay. Hey, that may be another one for a topic to teach, right? GitHub, right? Sorry, it's getting hot in here. And smelly. So GitHub, we're going to be using GitHub, and everything I do, all my code examples are going to be up here. So if I go to github.com, I have my little account here, and all my code examples are going to be in these repositories. So anything we do today, it's going to be up on GitHub. Like for example, I got a couple of parts for COMP3027 and so on. Everything that I do is going to be here on GitHub, and then everything we record is going to be on YouTube. All right. As well, next week, Rich will have all of our access to Azure. We're supposed to have it this week. We're asking for 150 licenses, right? I think it works out to be like $100,000. Yeah.
How long?
5 months. 5 months. So we'll have enough for the whole course, right? So one of our deployment requirements for our assignments, every time we do an assignment, our deployment requirements, or even in class when we do stuff, we're going to move to doing stuff on the web all the time. Always on Azure, right? That kind of stuff. So, and the reason for that is because, listen, we're using ASP.NET MVC. Might as well use Microsoft Azure on the back end. I'd like also to make the assignments, each of these assignment piece parts, like the first assignment I want to do, I want to try and build out almost like a very simple shopping cart idea, right, with the first assignment. So the first assignment we do, when we talk about security, we'll be kind of build a shopping cart with MVC, ASP.NET MVC5, right, with some kind of database backend. Obviously, it's going to be SQL or something like that. You don't want to use. This is not a MongoDB course. We're going to use Microsoft technologies, right? And of course, we can host everything on the web, right? If we have access to Azure, then even your data store and everything can be on the web. One of the students in my other classes says, hey, can we use a Visual Studio Online instead of GitHub? Because Visual Studio Online is included with Azure, right? I'm perfectly fine with that. There needs to be, though, inside of your assignment requirements, some kind of version control system that you include. So it could be Bitbucket. If you don't want to use, for whatever reason, you don't want to use GitHub, you like Bitbucket, you can use that. If you want to use Visual Studio Online, you can use that. If you want to use SVN, you can use that. But there's got to be this version control component with a link to your site files somewhere. Okay. So again, Azure is definitely something we're going to do. And when we get into it, of course, if you guys remember from COMP3007 when you did it, we're going to go to manage Azure kind of thing. I'm just going to pull up one of the Azure sites I have access to, right? Here we go. So this is what Azure would look like. This is the old way of looking at the old panel that we had before, right? And if you notice right now, this is for one of the companies. For right now, what there is there's nothing, right? Oh yeah. And so you'll have the same kind of panel. If I want to create a web app, I can click web app, and then I can just create my web app, and then away we go. I'm using a pay-as-you-go Azure account, and yours will be like that, almost like a pay-as-you-go, right? But your pay-as-you-go, you're going to have a certain amount of credit that you'll get for your Azure account, and then it'll expire if you don't use it at the 5-month mark, right? That's how it usually works. So you can do things like create virtual machines. Now here's a challenge. A virtual machine is like remote, almost like having a remote machine with Visual Studio Platform as a Service, where you actually kind of have everything, your infrastructure, everything there. The problem with using a VM, we can't access it from school. School has got this blocking protocol. There's a protocol issue where if you try and do RDP, remote desktop, it won't work. Now maybe John can settle that issue because.
I used the RDP to the VMs at what's a VM platform you use? MyLab.
Yeah, no, it won't work. I've tried it from here. I've tried, yeah. So if I create a VM, this is how. Well, actually, I'll let when Aaron does his presentation, he'll do a full blown Azure thing, right? And when you create a VM in Azure, what happens is you try and connect to it, use RDP, and I guess the ports are locked down or something because of middleman attacks. Not sure how it works. That's the reason why we're given from IT. So we've tried to unlock the ports, and chances are we won't be able to do so. Creating a VM is something that's probably not going to be possible for us this semester, right? Or actually, you can create a VM, you just can't use it from here. You have to team viewer into it. Like, so you basically have to create it and run it from another, from a computer at home, right? So that there's no block on the ports. And then you can do RDP from home to the Azure account, yeah.
You VPN into it?
Well, there is no dedicated VPN you can set up with it the way I know it. But doesn't mean that it's impossible. Maybe we can explore that later on. Was that? I'm not sure that it would. I think you'd have to install it on the VM. So you create the VM, right? And maybe you install it on the VM, the actual Microsoft virtual machine, right? And then from there, maybe you can do it. You can create a VPN session. But I'm not sure if it'd be port blocking here. That's the problem. Even if it would, right?
Oh, let's create one. I'm curious now. Let's do it quickly. We don't have to do it alone.
This guy. You want it? I give it to you. All right? How about that?
I appreciate it.
No problem.
Images can we get to select from?
You can select from whatever image you have. So, for example, I can do a Windows Server 2012, a Ubuntu server, OpenLogic. There's all kinds of stuff they have, a CentOS server or whatever. There's a bunch of them. Now I want to make something so that I have Visual Studio built into it, right? Because each of these things, and if I go from a gallery perspective, this is really cool too. There's quick create. If I click quick create or gallery, a gallery will actually let me choose something that's already been created ahead of time, so it'll save us some time. So let's say if I go down and I want to search for like a Visual Studio machine, right? Because it has a lot of times they have Visual. Here we go. Here's Visual Studio Community Edition with Update 4, right? And then one of them that has with tools for Node.js, right? So let's just do this one, Community Edition with Update 4. Okay. I'm gonna go next, and then from there I got to name this machine. So we'll call this Server 1. Whatever I want to call it. I'm going to delete it in a few minutes. I create my username, right, and my password. Trying. Okay. And once I've done that, I go next. A new cloud service. Here's my server 1. Now server1.cloudapp.net is taken, so I'm going to have to choose something. Like maybe I'll call it, I have a company named acrotech.cloudapp.net. I want to choose a location for the virtual machine that's closest to us. Now we don't have presence here in Canada for Microsoft. We don't have a Microsoft data center here in Canada yet, right? But the closest one we can choose is probably Eastern U.S. There's two, Eastern U.S. and Eastern U.S. 2. So let's try the first one. Storage accounts, I use a built-in one. Availability set, let's leave it the way it is. For now, none. And then I choose next. Okay, I can also include things like extensions like Puppet or Chef. These are kind of management extensions if I wanted to. I could include security extensions like anti-malware and Trend Micro, whatever. This is all built in. Of course, this is all a paid-for service, right? So if I include them, I got to pay. Next. Oh, yeah. And here it is. What's happening now is it's starting, right? So first of all, what it does, you can't see it from here. I'm sorry. And I'm not sure even I can zoom in. See if I can zoom in for you. don't know if you can see that a little better. I'm going to see if I can turn the lights down.
It's not the lights, it's the.
Yeah, it's that crazy glare, right? But if you notice, what it does is it says pay as you go, and then they're starting a provisioning. So it provisions the VM, right, on the cloud, and then once it finishes provisioning the VM, you can start it, right? It's very interesting. And once it's started, I can connect, right? So it takes a little bit of time. If you notice, we're gonna spend some time here, starting the VM. One thing to note: if you have a pay-as-you-go account like me right now, right? Don't leave your VM on, right? So if you're using VM for development, start using it, and then when you're done, shut it down, right? And the reason for that is because you'll burn up all your points, guys, right? So you have all this money that, virtual money that Microsoft or credit that Microsoft's giving you. Shut that machine down, baby, all right? Or else you guys are you'll have zero money left. That's number one. Same thing with your websites. Remember, your websites, if you create a website up on there, we put them up. It all depends on traffic, right? But when we create a website, it's like 2 seconds. And by the way, the websites we can create, fully blown Node websites. We can create PHP on the back end websites. We don't have to create ASP.NET websites, right? Or web apps, if you will. For us, we're going to do it, but we don't have to. That's how flexible Microsoft is getting. Now, again, if you notice how long it's taking. So this is one piece. One piece is the provisioning. It's actually building out the VM, right? And it takes a little bit of time. Oh, there. Look, I'm able to connect now. See how it became available? Right? Yeah. You mean over here? Here's what it's doing. This is telling me the details, right? So I'm creating the virtual machine right now. That's what it's doing. I'm just making it big so you guys can see it, right? Right now, there is no additional space. I can create, for example, an SQL database, some more storage areas, media services, whatever I want. It's really quite neat. And I really, honestly, I really like the interface. The interface is pretty clean compared to what it used to be, right? So, I mean, they've really come a long way, Microsoft. So it's ready to connect. I can do it. I can't connect to it yet because it's not started yet. It's starting right now. So the VM has been created, but I can't start it yet. Let me connect. If I click connect, what this does is it downloads my RDP file, right? That's what it does. Okay, so as soon as it's done, and as soon as it's started, I can click on my RDP file, and it'll kick me in there, so I can connect. You got to give it a little bit more time. So all the stuff that I'm doing.
Sign in now?
Yeah. I know it's hot. Boy. Bear with me, John. Yeah, that's what the whole idea is. When you guys get this access, you can play with it. That's what I want you to do. I want you to play with Azure so that you know Azure. Guys, when you guys leave, I'm telling you, it's so important when you guys finish this semester to understand cloud services. There's such a big demand out there from an enterprise perspective. It doesn't make any sense for you not to know it well. At least one cloud service, be it Azure, Google platform, Amazon Web Services, whatever. You need to know one cloud service very well. So my recommendation is we do Azure because we're going to be doing MVC 5. Okay, it's running. Let me see if it's almost done. Now you can see how much time it took because literally it created a VM right up in Azure. I'm sorry for the glare. There's nothing I can do about it in this room. If I was to actually click on this right now, it wouldn't work because we're not completely provisioned yet. Right? That's why it's taking so long. Now there is a warning. It says my pay-as-you-go subscription is expiring. Right? I'm okay with that because it is what it is. So I'm not sure if it's a coupon we're going to get from Rich or if it's going to be a brand new account you have to sign up with. Yeah.
So are they like crediting us like real money and like is there a separate student account or is it they know they're students and they're just giving us a little bit of money?
I think they give you a coupon. I think it's a coupon you get and it expires in 5 months. So basically you have your own, even if you have your own services, you can log in. They give you a coupon, and you apply to those services for 5 months. As long as it's not business related, you're good to go.
How much is
It's not that expensive actually. If you go pay as you go, if you just do, you know, I mean, let me take that back. It's not expensive if you're efficient, right? And if you don't turn on, I'll show you what you can do. You can turn on when it comes to websites. You can make it so that it's a crazy website it's got a lot of power behind the actual physical machine, right? Well, you're going to be paying a lot for that, right? And if you actually go to rates, they actually show you how much it's going to be. You actually can dial up the rate. They'll tell you how much it is per hour, per month, per year, the whole thing, right? It gets quite expensive when you make it a very powerful website or web server. If you make it, the more dedicated you make it, the more RAM you give it, the more cores you give it, like CPU cores and stuff like that, it becomes more and more expensive, almost like this virtual private host idea. Wow, it's taking a while. And by the way, I've done this a bunch of times with the VM, and they all take different lengths of time. Sometimes I could provision something within 10 minutes, right? So it must be that they're busy right now. But after it's provisioned, then there's the connection period. So if I actually was to click this button here, it's going to say, okay, are you ready to connect? Now, it can't connect right now, right? See how it says 192.168. Whatever it is, here's my PC. I could dial into it like this as well, right? But it's trying to connect. It's trying. And I'm using RDP for Mac, right? I can do this on the PC side as well. It won't really matter. But it's not fully provisioned. That's why it's going to be in this error. Eventually, it'll come back with an error that says, this is it. The Windows-based computer is not set up to accept remote connections. The Windows-based computer is not turned on, and which is probably partly true. And the Mac or the Windows-based computer is experiencing network problems, which is not true. Right? So, I mean, we can wait. I click connect, and then you can use RDP. And this is the problem here at school. I've tried it in a number of places. I've tried it at the other school too, by the way. But from home, works like that. No issues. So it has to be some kind of port trouble that we're having. Anyways, I'll let this go, and I'll come back to it. Well, I just won't leave it forever. I'll also pay. You know how it is. So remember, as a reminder, shut down your damn VM right when you make it. Otherwise, you're in trouble. So again, Azure is something we're going to handle. We're going to take care of this deployment to the web kind of thing. If worst case scenario, if we can't deploy to Azure, we'll find a secondary option. So let's say Azure's not working for us for whatever reason. We've got lots of secondary options. Heroku is definitely something that we can try and do. I'm not sure if it supports ASP.NET, right? But there are other ones out there like OpenShift and so on that gives us another platform as a service that we can use. There we are, running. Okay, let's check this out. So finally we're running. Okay, I'm going to connect. Now, what did I make? Is it Thomas? Think I remember? It's probably the farthest I've got. It'd be nice if they actually opened it up for once. Yeah, see? Not going to happen, guys.
We're computer programmers.
There should be a newer version of remote desktop.
That is the newest version, right? Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. John, I'm all with you, man. I'm there with you, man. Don't worry. Here, look. Hold on, let me just barrel down here for a second, 'cause it's too big. Get tools, so PowerShells, commandlets. I probably can do this, no problem. I can manage disks. There's how-to guides on how to do it, but I know when I was doing it, there was a, what was that, endpoints? Okay. Here's the pub. I mean, you mean to change my public or my ports? Yeah, I can do that too. Tell me what to do. It's not impossible. I'll let you play with it when you if you can try to do it from school, right? The challenge is we don't know what the which port it is that's blocking. We don't know, right? We don't know if it's port 54524, right? Or something else. PowerShell is obviously happening on port 5986, so I'm sure if I wanted to PowerShell into it, like do an SSH or something like that into, I could probably do it right now, right? And it wouldn't be an issue. I just have to choose a different port.
70.0.0.0.0.
No,
Come on.
no. Oh, nothing. Anyways, so that's part of our challenge. Our challenge is we can't use VMs, not yet the way they are right now. However, I'm not going to tell you that we can't. It's impossible to figure out. I think I can definitely call support and find out, but 99% of the problem was ports. Was that?
It's all Azure to manage the CL.
Sure.
I think so.
I hope you're right, man. That'll make it a lot easier for us. I'll let you play with it. When you get your Azure account tomorrow, you do it. Or whenever you do it, right? So you see how it's running right now? See this button? Shut down, right? And then we're good to go, right? And the reason for that, you see how I put it up and put it down? It's done. If I don't put it down, I get charged for every hour, every minute that I use it, right? So I don't want to do that. Okay, that was a 2-minute on Azure that I didn't expect. Any other weird, trippy things you want me to do before the day's over? No problem. Yeah. Sure. We can do it. I'm stealing. I'm gonna call it Aaron's thunder over here. No problem. Web apps. I want to create a web app. Okay, let's go. So, let me just kind of make it a little bit smaller so we can see. I got again the same kind of idea. I can make my own. I got to choose my own custom URL. It has to be something that's global that works with all Azure websites, right? Now again, remember this is the domain, the subdomain that we're going to be using as a staging site. And then if we want to make this as the real site, what we'd have to do is point our custom domain to that to Azure, right? We can do that. Okay, so let's look at a web app. You can go to your gallery. And in your gallery, you have a bunch of different options for a web app. We can look at different CMSs. Like if you want to build, I think WordPress might be something that's in here, I'm pretty sure. Joomla, right? And so on. Here's your WordPress site. I want to build a WordPress site. Click onto it. And when I do that, I can go next. And then it'll install WordPress for me, right? Like I won't have to do any of the work for me. Actually, the framework for WordPress will be there. It's almost like a little appliance, which is to me really, really cool. If you want to set up a WordPress site, before you have to download, install it, configure it, the whole thing. This does it all for you, right? The latest version of WordPress, and then from there you can download your plugins and away you go, right? That's a really good one. This is from the gallery, right? If you want to go all, as an example, and you can go, if I want to do something with Node or Express, here's an Express web app, right? I can click on Express, and I can click Next, and I can provision an Express web app, no problem, right? Here's an HTML5 empty web app. I can do that too. And I can do it right through, here's Magento for a payment gateway if you want to do e-commerce. There's all kinds of stuff that you can do here to create a web app. Now, again, depending on which one you choose, pay as you go, you're going to pay as you go more money, right? That's how it goes, right? But that's where these templates come really handy because they're, to me, it's very, very simple to choose something that already exists. Here is PHP BB, a bulletin board, right? It's all pre-built for you. It's all these little appliances that you just can build out. Let's do WordPress because that's the easiest one, right? So I'm going to click WordPress. I'm going to go next, right? I have to set the thing, so I'm going to call it Acro WP. Why not? It says create a new SQL database. So I'm going to have a database too. So that's part of the web services that I'm going to turn on in a second, right? A new app service plan, and I want to host it close to me in the eastern U.S. I can use an authentication key here and a secure authentication key there, and then from there I can click next if I want to. Now all these authentication keys, these are the things I need so that way when I log into WordPress I get a better secure site. If I try to click next though, right, it might allow me to do it anyway. Here's my database, right? I can accept this database so I can make my own, right? just call it the same thing. And in the Eastern US. And if I've got a problem, it says, I agree to clear DB's legal terms. Press next, and then let's see if it creates it. Now it's pay as you go. The great thing about WordPress is, and any kind of website, is once I enable it, I can just turn it off. So it doesn't have any traffic, right? You ask, I do, right? No problem. But really, from a speed perspective, you really can't go wrong with this kind of stuff in terms of all the. I mean, that VM that we created, it's a full-blown VM with Visual Studio, and it's on Server 2012. It's great, right? So it's a separate VM. You remote desktop in, and away you go. You can do it from anywhere, right? So you don't even have to have a tool in front of you, just the web. You use a Chromebook, go in, and you got Visual Studio, right? Which is, to me, awesome, right? And here, with this web app, once we have it running, you know how we configure WordPress. We're going to go into WordPress, configure it for the first time, right, or whatever, and then again, away you go. We're ready to go with it. Okay, it's running. So for me to test it, I have to. If I click this, I can do. I have more tools. I can monitor it. I can do all kinds of stuff here. If I go back, I know what the WordPress site is called, right? If I go back, it's called acrowp, right? .azurewebsites.net. So let's try this. acrowp.azurewebsites.net. And if I've done this correctly, then I should be ready to go. There we go. All right, so I'm going to do English. Yeah, sure. Here's my site title. I'll call it Acrotech. Make my username and my password. And my email address. And install. Success. Log in. And your client's up and running. Your website, your WordPress site's finished. It's over. Inside of some plugins, download a theme, and away you go. Right? So not bad. And again, this is the latest. If you notice, there's some updates already that you can do, because their last package, as an example, their last package is the latest version of WordPress 4.22, and I can update now if I want. Right? I'm not going to do that because I'm going to shut this thing down in a second. But the idea here is you can do the regular things, the plugins, the dashboard. You can make. This is a fully blown WordPress site, and I did it within what, 5 minutes, 10 minutes? That's amazing. Like, you can't even do it on your own in 5 minutes. So in your own, you got to set up a PHP. Go into PHP, use PHP my admin, create your database. After you create your database, you have to go in there, create your permissions, right? Create all the security that you have to do, right? And then all the routing and hosting and everything else that you have to take care of. This is all done. Now all I have to do is point my site to this site, and I'm done. I'm set up. All right, let's tear this thing down, because you know what? I don't want to pay. Well, I'm a cheap guy, right? So I want to go back here and stop. The real test is what you can do with this thing when it stopped. Once it's built, starting and stopping is 2 seconds. Right? I'm not going to be billed for this now. It's not working. So, I mean, I've provisioned the space, but unless I use it, that's what pay-as-you-go is all around. You can set up your own pay-as-you-go Azure account today, and it's not going to affect you, right? Unless you pay a few pennies for using what we just did. Like, I'll still have to pay something, because I did use a little bit of time for me to provision the VM. But I mean, it's going to be like a few cents or whatever it is. So questions around this. So Azure is where we're going to deploy stuff. Whenever we do stuff here in class, we're going to do this exact same thing. Definitely not going to create a VM. It takes a long time, as you saw. And again, we have these RDP issues unless John, our routing expert, can fix it. Right? La 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 la. Yeah, you do it. I want you to do it with your account.
Oh, book me an account.
You'll get it next week. You'll have it. And that's it for this video. We'll go to the next one in a second.